What I was looking forward to the most about Descendants Wicked Wonderland is to take these characters.
Something huge is happening with Descendants 6, and after that shocking ending in Wicked Wonderland, I don't think Disney is hiding it anymore. The biggest clue isn't just the mysterious glowing object that Pink found. It isn't even Chessie's promise that the story is far from over. Instead, it comes from a collection of small details that, when connected together, paint a much bigger picture. New interviews, hidden references, and production updates all seem to point toward the same conclusion. Descendants 6 is already being prepared behind the scenes, and the next adventure may become the biggest movie this franchise has ever attempted. But what surprised me the most is that the next chapter may completely change the direction of the series. Instead of simply introducing another villain, Disney could be setting up a story where nobody knows who can actually be trusted. Friends may become enemies, old heroes may return with secrets, and the consequences of changing time may finally catch up with everyone. If these clues are true, then Descendants 6 won't just continue the story. It could completely redefine it. Ever since Descendants, Wicked Wonderland ended, fans have been trying to figure out what that final scene really meant. Disney could have ended the movie with everyone celebrating their victory, but instead they chose to leave us with one final mystery. Pink quietly discovered a glowing object hidden among the treasure, and before anyone could understand what it really was, the movie ended. Then Chessie appeared one last time and practically confirmed that this story was only the beginning. That moment didn't feel random at all. Disney has always loved planting tiny clues long before revealing their real purpose, and this looks exactly like another one of those moments. The glowing object could become the most important item in the next movie, possibly even more dangerous than the pocket watch itself. While everyone believed destroying the pocket watch fixed everything, time itself may still be damaged. After all, changing history always comes with consequences. One timeline disappears, another is created, and sometimes those new timelines begin creating problems nobody expected. That could explain why several characters started acting differently throughout the last movie. Some changes seemed small at first, but others felt much deeper, almost as if reality itself was struggling to stay together. If Disney continues following these rules, then Descendants may 6th focus less on defeating one single villain and more on repairing an entire universe that is slowly falling apart. Another detail that keeps standing out is the way Disney ended everyone's personal journeys. Usually, a Descendants movie gives its main characters a satisfying ending before introducing the next conflict. This time, however, almost every important character still has unanswered questions. Red finally found happiness after changing her relationship with her mother, but can that happiness really last if the timeline keeps changing? Chloe proved that friendship is stronger than manipulation, but after briefly becoming evil, could part of that darkness still remain inside her? Max chose a different path than his father, yet Maddox's future remains completely unknown. Disney never clearly explained what happened to him after everything was over. That feels intentional because unfinished stories almost always return later. Even the Queen of Hearts still showed flashes of her old personality despite the timeline changing. That one unexpected line near the end reminded everyone that you cannot simply erase who someone truly is. Maybe their memories disappear, but their deepest instincts never completely fade away. If that's true, then some characters may slowly begin remembering pieces of the original timeline, creating conflict from within instead of through an outside villain. That would make Descendants 6 much more emotional because nobody would know whether the people around them are acting freely or being influenced by forgotten memories. Imagine Red watching her own mother slowly becoming the person she worked so hard to change. That emotional struggle alone could become one of the strongest storylines Disney has ever created. Then there is Pink, who may secretly become the center of everything. At first, she seemed like another fun addition to the new generation, but looking back at the ending, it almost feels like Disney wanted us to pay much closer attention to her. Why was she the one who discovered the mysterious object? Why didn't anyone else notice it? And why did the movie end before showing us exactly what she found? Those questions are simply too important to ignore. Many fans believe the glowing object could slowly influence Pink without her even realizing it. Instead of instantly turning evil, Disney could show a gradual transformation where her personality begins changing little by little. That kind of storyline would be much more interesting because even Pink herself wouldn't understand what is happening. Red would probably notice the changes first, forcing her to choose between protecting her sister or protecting everyone else. That emotional conflict could become the heart of Descendants 6. For the first time, the greatest danger wouldn't come from someone they already fear. It would come from someone they love. And honestly, that possibility makes the next movie far more exciting than simply introducing another classic Disney villain. The closer we look at all these clues, the more it feels like Disney has been quietly preparing something much bigger than anyone expected. But the story becomes even more interesting once we start looking beyond the ending itself. Over the past few weeks, several cast interviews have quietly added fuel to the fire. None of the actors are allowed to reveal major spoilers, but Disney has a long history of letting small hints slip through during interviews. And this time, there are simply too many clues to ignore. Whenever the cast is asked about the future of Descendants, almost everyone smiles before saying they hope to return. That alone isn't unusual. What is unusual is how confidently they talk about unfinished stories. Instead of saying their characters have reached satisfying endings, they continue mentioning new adventures, new locations, and relationships that still need to grow. It almost sounds like they already know these journeys are far from over. Disney may not have officially announced every detail yet, but the cast's excitement suggests that conversations about the next movie have already begun behind the scenes. One of the biggest questions is whether the mysterious object from the ending is actually connected to Wonderland at all. At first, that seems like the obvious answer. After all, the entire fifth movie focused on Wonderland and the consequences of time travel. But what if Disney is trying to trick us? What if that glowing object comes from somewhere completely different? Descendants has always loved expanding its magical world by introducing new kingdoms, and there are still plenty of famous Disney worlds that haven't been explored by this new generation. Imagine if the object isn't creating problems inside Wonderland but instead opening a path to another kingdom entirely. That would immediately raise the stakes because instead of fixing one timeline, Red and her friends would suddenly have to deal with dangers spreading across multiple magical worlds. It would also explain why Chessie looked so confident at the end. Maybe he already knew this was never just about Wonderland. Maybe he understands that the timeline has affected the entire Disney universe. Another character who deserves much more attention is Max. Throughout Wicked Wonderland, he constantly tried to prove that he wasn't defined by his father's reputation. He wanted everyone to judge him for his own actions instead of Maddox's mistakes. By the end of the movie, it seemed like he finally earned everyone's trust. But what if Disney is setting him up for an even bigger challenge? Imagine discovering that your father wasn't completely wrong after all. What if Maddox knew something about time travel that nobody else understood? Everyone called him dangerous, yet the events of the movie proved that changing the past really does create terrible consequences. If Max eventually learns that his father was actually trying to prevent something even worse, his entire world could be turned upside down. Instead of fighting against his father's legacy, he may decide to finish the mission Maddox started. That doesn't necessarily make him a villain, but it could easily put him on the opposite side of Red and Chloe. Suddenly, two people trying to save the world could completely disagree on how to do it. At the same time, I can't stop thinking about the Queen of Hearts. Even after everything changed, there were still moments when her old personality seemed ready to break free. Disney made sure we noticed those tiny flashes, and I don't believe they were included by accident. Maybe changing the timeline altered her memories, but it couldn't erase who she truly is deep inside. If that's the case, then Descendants 6 could explore something we've never really seen before. Instead of someone becoming evil because of magic, they could slowly return to their old self because that's the person they were always meant to become. That idea is honestly much scarier because there would be no spell to break and no magical object to destroy. Red would have to accept that saving her mother once doesn't guarantee she can save her again. Watching that relationship slowly fall apart would make the emotional stakes even higher than anything we've seen so far. And then there is the possibility that Disney is preparing a reunion fans have been waiting years to see. Every new Descendants movie has expanded the universe by introducing more children of legendary Disney characters. But there are still so many famous families that haven't played a major role in this generation. If the timeline really is becoming unstable, then bringing together heroes and villains from different kingdoms suddenly makes perfect sense. We could finally see old allies returning alongside brand new faces, all trying to understand why reality itself is beginning to change. Instead of one small adventure inside a single kingdom, Descendants 6 could become the largest crossover in the franchise's history. And if Disney is truly planning something on that scale, then the mysterious glowing object was never just a cliffhanger. It was the first warning that an even greater adventure has already begun. Now let's talk about the sneak peek itself, because this is where things become even more exciting. While Disney hasn't released a full official trailer for Descendants 6, there have been several small clues that feel like the first pieces of a much bigger puzzle. Fans have noticed that Disney continues promoting the new generation of characters instead of treating Wicked Wonderland as the end of the story. That alone tells us something important. Studios don't usually keep pushing the same characters unless they have future plans for them. Every interview, every promotional event, and every social media post seems to remind fans that Red, Chloe, Pink, and the rest of the new generation still have unfinished business. It almost feels like Disney wants everyone to stay invested while they quietly prepare the next announcement. One theory that keeps getting stronger is that the mysterious glowing object isn't simply magical, it could actually be alive. That might sound impossible at first, but Disney has introduced living magical objects before. Imagine if this object isn't waiting for someone to use it. Instead, it's waiting to choose its next owner. That would completely change the story, because the real danger wouldn't be finding the object, it would be stopping it from influencing someone. Pink accidentally discovered it, but what if it was never an accident? What if the object wanted to be found by her specifically? Looking back at the ending, the camera stayed focused on Pink just a little longer than expected. Disney loves hiding clues like that, and it makes me wonder if she has already become connected to something much bigger without realizing it. Another mystery that deserves attention is Chessie. Throughout the movie, he acted playful and unpredictable, but he always seemed to know more than everyone else. Sometimes he helped the heroes, other times he made everything even more confusing. That raises a very interesting question. Is Chessie actually on anyone's side? Or has he been protecting the balance of Wonderland all along? If time itself is breaking apart, then Chessie may become one of the most important characters in Descendants 6. Instead of acting as comic relief, he could finally reveal why he allowed certain events to happen in the first place. Maybe he knew Red and Chloe had to make mistakes before they could truly understand the consequences of changing history. If that's true, then Chessie has been playing a much bigger game than anyone realized. At the same time, fans are already asking whether another major villain is secretly hiding in the shadows. Every Descendants movie introduces someone unexpected, and Disney loves surprising its audience when they least expect it. But what if this time the villain isn't someone completely new? What if it's someone we've already met? Imagine a character we've trusted since the beginning slowly becoming consumed by the instability of the timeline. Instead of waking up evil overnight, they begin making small choices that seem reasonable at first. Then those choices become darker, more dangerous, until one day everyone realizes they've become the very threat they were trying to stop. That kind of transformation would feel much more emotional because the audience would understand exactly how it happened. Rather than fighting a stranger, the heroes would be forced to fight someone they once considered family. And of course, we can't ignore the growing rumors surrounding the release date. Disney hasn't officially confirmed when Descendants 6 will arrive, but the pattern of previous films gives us a pretty good idea. Major Descendants movies have traditionally been released during the summer, making that season the perfect window for another magical adventure. If production moves forward on schedule, a summer 2027 release feels like the strongest possibility. That would give Disney enough time to finish filming, complete all of the visual effects, and slowly build excitement with teasers and trailers over the coming months. Until then, every interview, every behind-the-scenes update, and every tiny clue will only make fans more excited. Because one thing is becoming clearer every single day. The next chapter isn't a question of if anymore, it's simply a question of when. No matter which theory turns out to be true, one thing is becoming impossible to ignore. Descendants 6 is shaping up to be the biggest chapter of this new generation. The mysterious glowing object, Pink's unexpected role, the unstable timeline, and the possibility of new kingdoms all suggest that Disney is building towards something much larger than another ordinary sequel. If the rumors are accurate, we could get our first official teaser sooner than expected, while a summer 2027 release remains the strongest prediction for now. Until Disney makes the official announcement, every new interview and hidden clue will keep fans searching for answers. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think that glowing object really is? Will Pink become the next villain, or will she be the one who saves everyone? Share your theories in the comments below, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.